third heat is going to be at 15:20, at 20 past 3 here local time. At the moment, it's 1:45, Ken.
Chris, can I just take us back to just before lunch? You and I called that fascinating race 5 for the seniors, won by Guan Yu Zhou. We praised Michael Cool, me particularly, for saying he's dug out a good result here in third place. Well, it's counted for naught, because over the lunch period we learned that Michael Cool was disqualified from race 5, and the reason for the exclusion, unfair driving. So what I was seeing of Michael Cool, I was impressed with. What the officials were seeing from Michael Cool, they were unimpressed with, and the stewards backed them up. So Michael Cool, a 0 score. Well, not a 0 score, a maximum score, if you will, but Michael Cool throwing away what was a third place finish, wasn't it?
Can only guess that had something to do with that first corner incident in which the likes of Pierce Lehane got wiped out. There you can see the grid on screen then for the next race, race number 7 for the juniors. On pole position, the driver who was second quickest in qualifying yesterday, Richard Verschoor, the Dutch driver in kart number 62. Zach Falk, number 34, starts on the front row of the grid. Oh, off into the gravel there has gone at number 36, Alex Quinn. Now, Alex had a tremendous heat earlier on, finished in second place, didn't he, Alex Quinn, in the earlier race? But Alex has spun off, it looks like, or maybe been hit off. Something's happened to him either way. And he's gone off, having finished second this morning, into the gravel on the formation lap. Hopefully he can get it going again and catch up the pack in time, ready for the start.
Well, yes, because there's no doubt about it. It wasn't a fluke this morning. He worked really, really hard for that fabulous result, didn't he? As I say, making, so far as I'm aware, his international racing debut, and certainly his RGMMC debut. And, well, want to see him not necessarily have another good result. We're neutral, but I would like to see him have every chance of getting the best result of which he's capable.
So just quickly to give you the grid again, as it should be. On row 1, Richard Verschoor and Zach Falk. On row 2, Will Tregurtha and Jack McCarthy. Row 3, Darren Keane and Louis Ferdinand Simonar. On row 4, Alicia Martinez, and it should be Alex Quinn if he can get back in position.
Well, he's had a break, hasn't he? Because Richard Verschoor had slowed them down a lot earlier than they normally do. And here comes Alex. He may well, it's going to be touch and go, isn't it? Got to get to the red line.
They might, unless they give another lap at the end of this. On row 5, it will be 43 Enzo Cosimo and Harrison Thomas, who didn't make it past the end of the first lap in the first race. He's going to be starting 10th. On row 6, we're going to have Alexi Keskitalo and Danny Kroos. Row 7 will be Caspar Korjas and Daniel Luco. Row 8, Max Bird and Denis de Rouge. Row 9, Bradley Barrett and Vincent Mastereau. Row 10, Mikhail Badowski and Andrew Wong. Row 11, Antoine Percival and Tristan Charpentier, who was disqualified from an earlier race. Row 12, Ayrton Simmons and Emilien Carter. And the final row, Dickie van der Waal and Artemi Kavanok. It's going to be a 7-lap race, and it looks like it's go. It's going to be a start. No, not quite. It looked like they were going to get underway, but they are going to send them back around. They look a little bit spread out at the front, didn't they, as they went across the start-finish line. They roared off, but by the time they got to the first corner, the yellow lights came back on. All around the circuit, LED lights helping the drivers to identify the fact that the race is still under caution and it's not yet got underway. So that's good news, isn't it, for Alex Quinn? He should now have time, Ken, to get back in his rightful place on the fourth row of the grid.
Yes, that fell in his favour, didn't it?
There you can see the view from the top part of the course there from our camera, looking down that first sequence. That's looking down from turn 8. And this is them as they come through and back down the hill, then down towards
getting
a
clear indication. Well, there's some pointing, and the pointing was to kart number 62, Richard Verschoor. One or two people being told, make sure you're in the proper lanes, but I think Richard Verschoor got a rather more determined point from Nigel Edwards. Probably. They were outside the lanes in the approach, I'm hearing.
Right. Probably the best race so far today was that second race that we had with Richard Verschoor, Tommy Prining and David Wood, all having a really great battle at the front of the field. And then we had another couple coming through to join them at the end of the race, the likes of Darren Keane and Luke Wooder. So that was probably the best race of the day so far in terms of how close it was and how much overtaking there was. And it was Richard Verschoor that took the win from the pole sitter Tommy Prining, with Dave Wooder finishing third in the first race. The next junior race was won by Yuri Vips. Alex Quinn, who had that spin just now in the formation lap, was second, and Hugo Chevalier came home in third. So we've had lots of different names up there in the top 3 so far. This is the second race for each of these drivers now. And it's going to be a 7-lap race. And this time they do look nicely bunched up as they make their way through turn 14. There you can see them on screen, coming out onto the start-finish straight, ready for this race. With the blue colours of Richard Verschoor on the inside line, cracking starts to try and get between them from Jack McCarthy, number 33. Had a real roller coaster of a race earlier on, but he couldn't make it through. Now he's got hung out to dry on the outside line, and Jack McCarthy, 2 wheels in the gravel through the first turn. He's kept going. Now he's been thumped off again, and Jack McCarthy punched off on the inside. 3 karts coming out of turn 2 make contact. All I think there's a chain reaction of that. Jack McCarthy, I was about to say, rejoined. He went through the gravel with 2 wheels. He dropped from 3rd or 4th place down to about 14th or 15th place. And then just as he got back going again, I think he got clattered as he tried to get back into the pack, and then was properly shoved off onto the grass, and he's almost at the back of the field now. So Jack McCarthy's had huge amounts of speed this weekend. It's not working out for him, and a lunge there for 2nd place, wasn't there, Ken?
Yeah.
Down at the hairpin.
I was going to say it was rather a little case of being caught napping by Will Tregurtha. It seemed. Oh, having
well, no,
said
it
that,
was Will Tregurtha making the move.
Went through, caught by Will Tregurtha, I was going to suggest.
Yeah, down the
caught
inside.
napping Zach Falk.
Yeah, Zach Falk, he just threw one down the inside, Will Tregurtha, into turn 9. And spectacular stuff at the bottom of the hill, but he carried too much speed, didn't he, Ken? Ran wide and then gifted the place back.
You can't fault the driver for going for that, can you?
Not.
It's the racing instinct, but this tricky, greasy surface, just a trap for the unwary on that occasion.
He's still 3rd, though. Still no drama. Zach Falk just ahead of him. The race leader, Richard Verschoor, the pole sitter, having a nice, relatively comfortable first lap. Could be a challenge for 3rd place here. Not quite, I don't think, going into the first turn, but Will Tregurtha coming under attack from Alex Quinn. So Alex thankfully got back into his position. Now he lunges up the inside, coming out of turn 2 and gets the place back. Will Tregurtha gives him a little tap on the bumper at the way out of the corner, and then tries to get back on the inside of him through the next turn and does so. So Will Tregurtha back to 3rd, but only for half a second, because the inside line for the next corner is then with Zach Falk. And as soon as I finish the sentence, it changes again, and Will Tregurtha on the way out of the next corner gets through to 3rd.
Sorry, Chris.
Fantastic stuff. There's all sorts going on further back behind them as well.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where we don't want to be disrespectful, but it's almost ignore the leader for a moment and look what's going on behind. 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. About 5 tradings of places.
It's fantastic, isn't it? This battle. Zach Falk with the orange helmet. You can't miss him. Number 36. A little slide on the way into the hairpin. He goes wide again, and Will Tregurtha's got better turn-in. Gets alongside him, but the wider line coming out of the corner enables Zach Falk to get his nose back in front. I think it's about 6 times now those 2 British drivers have swapped positions, and what it is allowing is Enzo Coursimo, the French driver, to join them. So we're going to have 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th all together pretty soon. You can see them going through the hairpin right now on screen. And
Richard Verschoor to increase his advantage to 1.6 seconds, which, although it's a slow run race, best lap of about 1:29.7, most of them in the 1:31s. Even so, an advantage of the margin that he has to be respected. 3 full seconds.
Will Tregurtha,
Alex Quinn, having had a best time of 1:30.7, you wouldn't believe that was good enough to be getting where he is, but looking to consolidate that from here.
Will Tregurtha's just dropped off a little bit from the back now of Alex Quinn in this battle for 2nd place. So it's Richard Verschoor leading, Alex Quinn 2nd, Will Tregurtha 3rd, 4th is Enzo Coursimo, Darren Keane is up next in 5th place, and Eliseo Martinez in 6th position. And everybody shifting up one. Richard Verschoor still leading the way. And we've lost from this race Bradley Barrett, Dickie van der Waal, and Zach Falk disappeared. I was just looking to see where he was. He's not come through, so Zach Falk is still running. He's down in 23rd place. So I missed what happened there, but Zach Falk has gone right to the back of the field. Somebody else is off in the distance over in the barriers coming out of turn 8, but has got going again. So probably Zach Falk right down the back of the field now, which is why Quinn, Tregurtha move up to 2nd and 3rd place. Darren Keane is doing all right, isn't he, for somebody that doesn't like the wet very much? He's in 5th place. Richard Verschoor,
well,
the race
Emilian
leader.
Carde was the guy who I think you referred to in commentary, Chris, as having had an issue and got going. And I have to say that although I'll forgive anybody because of these difficult conditions. Emilien Cardet of France, a driver who we would have expected a little more from, because although he's not one of the most experienced juniors, he is relatively experienced at this level, and not just in this particular race, but earlier in the preliminaries. I was a little bit surprised to see him that far back, struggling in kart 65 well at the back.
Jack McCarthy starting to fight back. The number 44 driver back up into 11th place now, 33 rather, back up into 11th place. So Jack McCarthy.
Well, that's good from where he rejoined the fray, wasn't it?
Wasn't he, after that first couple of corners? So he's flying along very nicely. Meanwhile, the race leader, Richard Verschoor, he's got a Sean Babington type advantage here, hasn't he? Nearly 3 seconds already. Second place, Alex Quinn, starting to come back under a bit of pressure.
He is.
And look at Will Tregurtha, very clever this. He's now following the line of Alex Quinn. He's realised that wider line in these conditions through that hairpin, that left-hand hairpin at turn 10, it gives you more traction on the way out of the corner. So he's following the line now. Oh, 2 karts make contact. Oh dear, it's Jack McCarthy again in the wars. He's not very happy. He shakes the fist and just trying to see who it was that went into him. Jack McCarthy, think it was Alexei Cascatalo, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought possibly Enzo Cosimo, but no, Enzo Cosimo would have been too far up. Yeah, you were right, it was Alexei.
I think so. We'll check when they come back around, but when they come back out the hairpin, they made contact with each other. So all the hard work, and Jack McCarthy's had to go back a few places now, but he is still going. 3 laps to go, well into the second half of the race. Richard Verschoor, 129.7 is his best time. He's just on a 129.9. Slightly quicker than him on that. That was Alex Quinn by a few hundredths of a second. And a 129.6 for Will Tregurtha. That's his personal best lap of the race. So the fastest man out there at the moment is the man in third place, Tregurtha.
And it is showing as we look on track as they drop down from turn 5. OK, he's not in a position to make a challenge on the second place driver, Alex Quinn, but he's certainly narrowing the gap. And you compared race leader Richard Verschoor with Sean Babington 1 lap ago, but whereas Sean was absolutely hugging the inside, as you said, as with Alex Quinn and Will Tregurtha, they are taking the widest sweep when they're in this serpentine sector, aren't they, from the approach to turn 7 and the exit towards turn 9, and it is paying off.
That's right. Richard Verschoor has been the quickest driver of anyone in the first 2 sectors. But Alex Quinn has got and actually Will Tregurtha sets the quickest second sector of anybody in the race. So Will Tregurtha is on a real flying lap here. He's just gone quicker than anybody else in the second sector. That's the best time we've had in that part of the course. The longest sector is the middle sector. Through come the leaders, and Richard Verschoor with 2 laps to go, 1 minute 29.8 rather, 129.2 for Alex Quinn. He's closing the gap.
Gosh,
and a 129.6 for Will Tregurtha as well. So he just lost out on the first sector, I think, Will Tregurtha, but the middle he was very quick. They're both quicker than the leader though, Ken.
Yeah, I think the relevant thing, Chris, is there's just 1 3/4 laps to go, and Richard Tregurtha can afford to just drive a little bit more conservatively if he elects to, and still will find the checkered flag coming to his aid if he needs. Little bit of a drift by Richard there as he goes into the steepest part of the grade on the fall from the height at turn 5. And second and third particularly circumspect there, weren't they? It's not at all easy in that approach to the turn onto the return home straight. Richard, there's no doubt about it. The guys are getting a little bit close. Oh, and that was a shame there by Will Tregurtha, who you were saying was tracking Alex Quinn. There he chose not to. He dived on the tight inside, got within a length and a half, but there was no speed on exit, and now there's, 15 lengths between them?
Yeah, he's lost a bit of time, that's for sure, but he's a long way clear of 4th. Enzo Cosimo, the French driver. Darren Keane, 5th, still going well. Eliseo Martinez, going very well in 6th position. Andrew Wong is 7th. Tristan Charpentier, 8th. Jack McCarthy is coming back up the order again. He's in 9th place. And 10th then, we've got Danny Kroos ahead of Harrison Thomas, who's in 11th position. On to the final lap of the race. Richard Verschoor looks like he might be making it 2 wins out of 2. And he just needs a decent final race later on this afternoon, and he'll be the man on pole position tomorrow. But he has looked very impressive, and he's another driver, isn't he, who didn't particularly shine last year, but this year it seems like a changed man has arrived.
Come on in leaps and bounds, hasn't he? I felt the shudder, Chris, when you said he's heading for 2 wins. Yeah, yes, he is. But whenever I say that, I always think, oh my gosh, those words are going to come back and bite. In fact, they don't often. But when they do, boy, do you learn about it.
I was just about to say that the rain had eased up because most people out there had just set their fastest laps of the race, but it's just started throwing it down again, hasn't it? With less than half a lap to go now. Coming through the left-hander at turn 10. There you can see first, there's second, there's Will Tregurtha in third, a little bit wide. But great drive this. If you're called Tregurtha and you're watching the race online, hello and welcome. A lot of you are probably supporting Will Tregurtha because there is something called the Tregurtha Project set up where anybody with the same surname have been supporting him financially and Tregurthas around the world have been helping Will to get to this point to come and race here, and he's certainly rewarding you in third place, looking very smooth with just 2 corners to go. So here comes the race leader, about to exit the final corner to become, for the second time today, the race winner. Great drive by Richard Verschoor. The Dutchman wins. Alex Quinn in second place. He'll be happy about that, won't he, given the fact that he was dead last on the formation lap and spinning off in the gravel. He had to get out of the cart, dragged the cart out of the gravel, and thankfully had enough time to catch up and get back in his grid position on the 4th row. So Alex Quinn, a sigh of relief, in second place for the second time today. Will Tregurtha with a fine drive, third place. He did well earlier on as well, didn't he, Will Tregurtha, in 8th place, but this one's even better. Enzo Coursimo, the French driver, 5th. Eliseo Martinez moved up to 5th place in the end.
Yeah, good drive by her, wasn't that? I hadn't really watched her during the race, but on paper, that's a heck of a drive.
And the man that must have done the most overtaking in that race was Jack McCarthy. He went from near the front to near the back up to near the front, back down to the middle of the pack, and in the end he got back up to 8th place. So well done, Jack. Gritted his teeth, and it'll be very frustrated, I'm sure, but he got something out of it, which is so important in terms of where he'll start the grid for the pre-final tomorrow. There's one more heat to come for him, of course. So Richard Verschoor, the winner for Team TKP, 1.6 seconds clear. It wasn't quite the advantage that we expected in the end when he was 3 seconds clear halfway through the race. Alex Quinn second for Coles Racing. Adrian Cole's team very busy with a very full awning this weekend. Will Tregurtha third for KR Sport, the Grand Finals World Championship winning team. Enzo Coursimo for PKS fourth. Eliseo Martinez for CRG in 5th. Darren Keane in 6th place. I think he'd be really pleased with that, given that he was dreading the rain and having not had too much running in it. He's raced in Britain last year in the Super 1, but hard to believe at the moment, given how wet the UK is, but it was actually quite a dry summer, so he didn't really get any wet running in Britain either last year. So great, well done Darren, excellent drive. Andrew Wong was 7th, that was a good drive from him as well for Pro Train. 8th Jack McCarthy, as we said. Tristan Charpentier 9th to start to make up for the earlier exclusion. 10th Danny Kroos, 11th Denis de Rouge, Harrison Thomas 12th, Max Bird 13th. 2 Finnish drivers followed, Daniel Luco and Alexei Keskatalo 14th and 15th. Keskatalo having that bit of contact with Jack McCarthy at one point. Antoine Percival, Vincent Marcero and Mikhail Budovsky were next up in 16th, 17th and 18th. It's absolutely lashing it down outside now. You can't really see that from the grid shots on the screen, from the dummy grid, but it's throwing it down. Ayrton Simmons, double Spanish champion in Micromax a couple of years ago, the Grand Finals champion, struggling a bit this weekend. Here at the Spanish-based but British driver. And they see Zach Falk, I'm afraid, finishing down in 22nd. Didn't see what happened to him, but midway through the race he dropped out of that battle for a top 3 place. 2
a very promising qualifying, 3rd best, and 2 good starts in his 2 races, but very little to show for it, and I guess now struggling to make the cut.
Yes, frustrating for him, isn't it? But if he can get a good one next time out, still have a good chance.